What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here for the weekly sports card market update. We missed last week's at the beginning of the year. I was out of town doing a little weekend getaway with the missus, so no video last Sunday, but we are back this week diving in at the news, market movements, etc. in the wonderful world of sports cards. Last couple days, we have been looking back at 2022 as a whole. We have done basketball yesterday. We did football with special guest Dakota from Sports Cards Anonymous. And then probably tomorrow or Tuesday, we will finish up with baseball. And then I might do something with wax. Not 100% sure yet. I need to poke around. I need to do a little preview video for things that I am hunting for in 2023 because I like to have that documented. So that's kind of what's on the plate for this upcoming week. This past week, and really the last 2 weeks in general to kind of close out the year, things have been fairly quiet for the most part. There's been some little things here and there. You know, PSA's new pricing officially came out. We've talked about that a bunch. It's kind of meh. There was the Topps Candy Digital NFT thing. I don't know that that really impacts us as sports cards people. I thought it was more interesting, Ruben's take on NFTs, than the fact that they actually divulged their investment in Candy Digital. So really not a ton of new stuff to talk about. And really that's not surprising. It's the end of the year. We were kind of between Christmas and New Year's. A lot of people are off. Companies are kind of quiet. We'll see how things shake out as the year starts. I think generally speaking, from a company news standpoint, my gut tells me things will be kind of slow here for the next couple weeks. I think grading companies specifically, I think they are going to kind of let things play out a little bit. The only one that we really haven't heard from, I guess technically two of them, is Beckett and SGC in regards to pricing. CSG's announced that they are continuing their sale, their 20% off on the sports card side. PSA obviously rolled their new pricing out. SGC, I don't think really sees any need to make any moves. Their $9 special ran out on Bowman. That was very successful. And we'll see what Beckett ends up doing if they do anything with updating their pricing to start the beginning of the year. But I think we're kind of in a wait and see pattern now for a little bit as these companies readjust. From a global sports perspective, the NFL season is getting ready to enter the playoffs. We're not going to talk a ton about the NFL. I'm recording this as the Saturday games are going on. But we're kind of at that weird part of the season where, honestly, a lot of guys are going to start going down. Yeah, some guys are going to pop off, but it really comes down to who performs well in the playoffs, and then anyone that gets eliminated, their prices are probably going to tank. You should have a want list together and really start eyeballing auctions for a lot of guys, specifically non-playoff guys. If there's someone that you like, flag them, start watching auctions, see if you could sneak in, maybe steal a deal on somebody. As the eyeballs, the ISR on, if you will, old school reference there, kind of turns its gaze to the guys that are specifically in the playoffs. And then will kind of turn its gaze to the NBA. This is kind of the NBA's time in the limelight for a little bit as we head towards the All-Star break and the NBA trade deadline and Woj bomb season. As the NFL playoffs ramp up and run down, there's less and less teams, less and less games. And the other thing that we're ramping up to very quickly is baseball season. We're going to talk about baseball here in a minute. We're actually going to talk quite a bit about baseball. I'm seeing a lot of positive movements on baseball prices and actually NBA prices for certain guys that are really popping off. Now, if you haven't been following the NBA, it has been a wild, really 2 weeks almost. Luke has been going crazy. Donovan Mitchell had a 71-point game. Guys are dropping 50-point games left and right. Zion, who you see on the screen here, recently got injured, so his stuff's kind of pulling back a little bit. But we are, since the beginning of the year, once we got past Christmas, maybe holiday shopping, it does look like we're seeing small upticks. And this isn't back in the day when stuff would go up 40% because someone hit a three-pointer. But we are seeing some of the bleeding stop. Is it permanent? I don't know. Is it temporary? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I could be doing a lot of other things. So, with that being said, let's just go ahead and dive into some charts and graphs and just kind of talk about this stuff as we work through. Market movers, link in the description down below if you want to try it out. Buck for the first month. Kicking off with Zion obviously pulled hamstring. Sounds not great. He's going to be reevaluated in, I believe, a month or 3 weeks at the time of the injury. It happened a few days ago. That's not return to basketball. That is reevaluated. And we all know that the Pelicans are kid gloves with Zion. Obviously, I don't think this is going to cost him a year or anything, but I don't expect him back anytime soon. I really think they are going to baby this. Hamstrings can be tricky, and we'll see what happens. In the meantime, his Silver Prism has started to pull back a little bit. This is over the last 14 days. PSA 10 and 9 both down 15%. I would imagine this will slowly start trickling down as time goes on. Once again, Zion, the question has never been the talent. He looked fantastic this year. Pelicans looked great. They were the number 1 seed for a hot minute, tied for the number 1 seed. I doubt that holds. Now that he's hurt, it's always been about the injuries. And the hamstring could be kind of fluky, but these things add up on these guys and start nicking away. And I think that's always going to be the problem with Zion. He's going to show you greatness, and then he's also going to break your heart for a couple months, or maybe 10 to 20 games a year. I don't know. So that's Zion. That's what he's doing. He's one of the main guys that's kind of dipping this week. Most of that injury related. In the going up category, Luka, once again, over the last 14 days. And 14 days takes us back to essentially right before Christmas. Part of the reason I'm doing 14 days is because we missed last week, and then also I just liked a little bit bigger sample size. But Luka Silver Prism, PSA 10, PSA 9, PSA 10 back up over 2K. This card seems to float around $2,000 plus or minus 10%. But over the last 2 weeks, it's up 20% from $1,750 back to $2,100. And the PSA 9 is up from a little under $500 to a little under $700, a 40% increase on that one, but someone might have just got a really good deal on a 9 there right after Christmas. He's playing nuts. Here's my problem with Luka, and it's nothing about the talent, it's nothing about the player. I love him. It's all about the Mavericks. He's having an insane season. He very well could be the MVP. Right now, I think it's him and Joker as the 2 best players in the league and playing the best. His problem is all the Mavericks. The team outside of Luka is garbage. Not a lot of paths to improvement either. They don't have a lot of trades that they can make. So I do not see them making a deep playoff run at all. So the question becomes, if you're buying Luka right now, it almost has to be for a longer term hold. Could there be a quick flip potential? Maybe. But I think that's going to be tricky because of the playoff outlook. As in, I don't see them going very far. No Jalen Brunson this year. It hurts them a lot. If I'm a buyer on Luka, I'm going to wait until the offseason, I think, unless I can run into some deals. I definitely don't want to play inflated prices. I still believe in Luka long term, but he has a Dallas Mavericks problem, and I don't know how that team gets markedly better to get him back into the NBA Finals shortlist with as decent as the Western Conference still is. But I still believe in Luka long term. He reminds me, Bill Simmons talked about this on his podcast about a week or so ago. This reminds me of LeBron's first stint in Cleveland. He's amazing. Everybody loves him, but the team around him is like, ugh. And they're just kind of piecing it together to every season, trying to just throw things at the wall to see what sticks, but they don't have any real assets to go make a major move. But Luka is still ultra talented. I mean, guy's just absolutely insane. Next up, my boy Donovan Mitchell. That 71-point game was absolutely insane. His stuff definitely got a bump. You see the PSA 10 silver price right here with a little upward arrow. He's been having an absolutely fantastic season. That being said, he does not have a chance at MVP or anything like that, but he is playing exceptionally well. PSA 10 Prism Silver is up 37%. PSA 9's up 120% over the last 14 days. Justifiably so, just based off the 71. And I think it also just kind of drew a spotlight to him on how well he's been playing all year long. Cavs in general have been playing pretty good basketball. Garland's having some problems staying healthy. But the rest of the team looks fantastic. And when Garland has played, he's looked really good. They're poised to make a little bit of a run in the Eastern Conference. I don't see them winning the Eastern Conference. The Sixers are really coming on. The Nets are really coming on. The Celtics are pulling back a little bit. The Bucks are pulling back a little bit. But I think it's really those 5 teams. Celtics, Sixers, Bucks, Nets, Cavs. That's your clear top 5, in my opinion, by a pretty wide margin over the rest of the East. And then we'll kind of see what happens. I think the Cavs can win a series or 2. I think this is their cut their teeth year. And then next year, they can make a few little roster tweaks. And then next year will be their year to really potentially make a run. As those guys, as the young kids age up and get a little bit of playoff experience this year, it'd be nice to see them win a round and maybe battle in round 2 against one of those elite teams and just kind of see what happens. So, but Mitchell's stuff's still pretty cheap when you really think about it. When you compare Mitchell to like Tatum, obviously Tatum's a better player, but Mitchell's having a really good year and his stuff is fairly affordable. Next up, KD. We just talked about. Nets have been on absolute fire, and KD's cards are finally starting to rebound after a long slump. Topps Chrome, PSA 10, PSA 9. This is over the last 30 days because they've really been streaking for a while now. I think they've won like 11 out of their last, or 10 out of their last 11 or something like that. PSA 10 up 35%, PSA 9 up 39%. I didn't realize the PSA 9 got all the way down to $200. Whew, yikes. But he's playing great. Looks like an MVP candidate as well. The key question with him is can he stay healthy for the rest of the season? Can Kyrie keep his head on straight? And can they keep playing the way that they're playing? Time will tell. Let's take a look at baseball. Baseball's the interesting one. What I have pulled up here is the 2018 to 2020 Market Movers Market Pulse Index thing. I have this blown out to 180 days. This takes it back into the summer of last year, around the 4th of July. Obviously through the beginning of the year. Clearly, you notice this major downward trend. When we hit mid-December, late December, it kind of flattens out, and now we're actually starting to see it consistently tick up. This isn't, sometimes you see this and you see like one of these where it's like, oh, it was dipping down, and oh, look, we're on the rebound here, and then it goes right back down again. This is more just very slow and steady ticking up. If we look at this from the 180-day perspective, you can see the index is down 40%. If I go to a 60-day perspective, it's actually up 5%. 90 days, I believe it's still trending down. If we look at 90 days, we'll give it a second to load there. But it does appear, 90 days is down 7%. Somewhere around this mid-December-ish period, like this is the all-time low point here on December 11th. But right in this area here, early to mid-December, I'm going to say like right here, this mid-December section, since then, we've seen these slow and steady tick-ups. The question is does this continue as we kind of move into really the prime time for baseball? It's about to be February, and then we're going to lead into March. All the prospect stuff's going to start going crazy. Be ready to take advantage of those markets as they pop off. If one of your random Bowman firsts guys goes nuclear in a spring training game, be ready to fire and move off that stuff. Don't get cute. We've gone over examples of that 100 times before. Maybe I'll do a standalone video on it. But once again, just interesting to see over the last 60 or so, things really creeping up. And if we just go to the last 30, once again, up 5%. I think the last 30 is more indicative of what's going on. Once again, this was that low point that we saw when we were looking at it earlier. This kind of feels like the bottom out section, and then we see it slowly ticking up for almost a full 30-day period there. It's been straight ticking up a few percentage points each and every day. So that's very good to see. Let's look at some individual players that kind of back this up. This is Acuna Jr. I noticed this. I posted about it the other day. The Beckett 9.5 rookie autos. I always follow this card. I wouldn't mind getting it back. I sold this at the Atlanta Card Show last year at around this time. This is over the last 30 days. So from that dead period, that flat period. BGS 9.5 up 27%. PSA 10 up 33%. His base refractor, just a standalone Topps Chrome refractor, up 35%. And the X-Fractor up 26%. So once again, that from pre-Christmas up until now, Acuna, one of the more hotter names heading into this season, people looking for a rebound, well into the green with no news, really. I mean, no one's really been talking about Acuna. Nothing's really happened other than just, I think, people kind of getting ready and getting ready to throw some money at baseball and getting ready for baseball season to tick up. Moving along, Juan Soto, similar situation, not as big as jumps, same thing, 30 days. This is the much ballyhooed on the channel pink refractor, his rainbow foil, his first Bowman in a BGS 9.5. I chose that because it had the most sales, and his Topps update gold in a PSA 10. Running through these really quickly, the pink's up 15%, the foil's up 3%, first Bowman's up 10%, and the gold is up 35%. So seeing nice, not huge jumps, but just steady increases for Soto across the board. How about J-Rod? This is his first Bowman, both in a BGS 9.5 and a PSA 10. I went back 60 days on this one just because prospects, a little bit more leg room. His stuff's up 30% on his BGS 9.5 and 5% on the PSA 10. So his stuff creeping up as well. I still want to look into like all his Topps update stuff, but that market's still trying to figure itself out. I'm curious to see kind of what the market accepts as his, I don't want to say true rookie card, but like desirable rookie. Like what's the one everyone wants? And I don't know that we really know that yet. There's a lot to sort out there because of the way that they kind of had him in every product, but some stuff's short print, some stuff's not. I have a feeling it's going to be a version of his update. I just don't know which one. So we'll have to see. Trout, just as kind of a baseline, hasn't really moved at all. This is over the last 30 days. His PSA 10 has stayed flat. Down 3%, sitting at $1,500, was at $1,540 30 days ago when we ran when I started this chart. Pretty much just staying flat. Once again, no real hype around Trout or the Angels at this point. We will see if this starts to tick up along with the other guys, but it seems like right now the focus is on that 2018 and newer class, the kids, as always. One last one to look at, Wander Franco. This is his PSA 10 first Bowman. It's up over this, once again, over the last 60 days on this one, up 40%, 37% increase. This dipped down pretty low at the beginning of December, got all the way down to $1,000, is up to $1,400 now as we creep towards the season. Had a mixed bag of a season last year. Had some injuries, played good at times, was a little at times. We will see what he comes out with this year. Could be an interesting, like, I don't want to call him post-hype sleeper because he's still pretty hyped. But if he can come out and have a really good year, maybe his prices rebound quite a bit. Let's transition over to football really quick, and there's only one guy I want to look at. Only one. The man, the myth, the legend, Jarrett Stidham. This is just a fun one here. This backup quarterback stuff never ceases to amaze me. That people still, I don't want to say fall in this trap, but like, what are the odds that Jarrett Stidham is the next best thing? And as I'm recording this, he's getting his butt kicked by the Chiefs. PSA 10 base prism. The fun part here is, I went back 30 days on this. At the beginning of December, in a PSA 10, already slabbed in a PSA 10, this card was selling for $5. $5 in a PSA 10. And then you can kind of see what happened from there as things went crazy. He got named the starter, and then he played really well last week. This got all the way up to $50. It's not huge money, but you could still do really well on these micro flips on this low dollar stuff. It's really, I mean, you're really just kind of playing roulette, spin the wheel and see what happens on buying these backup quarterbacks. You have to have a couple different things happen. The guy that they're backing them up has to get removed. So that's the first thing. And then it also really helps to what really causes it to go next level is if they actually play a really good game. We saw it with Zappy early this year. He came in, his stuff got a little spike, and then he also played well, so then it kind of jumped even more. We've seen it with Purdy recently. We saw it with Gardner Minshew for a hot minute. You could really do well targeting this stuff. Even if you whiff on some guys, when your price point is $5 for a PSA 10, your downside risk is pretty low. It's just a matter of like really doing your homework and figuring out if you could predict who could potentially make switches. This one was a little bit tricky because it kind of came out of nowhere with the Derek Carr Stidham thing. So this one might have been harder to luck your way into. The 49ers one earlier this year with Trey Lance, like obviously he got hurt, but there was like a real path that if he just sucked, Jimmy Garoppolo was going to take over. And Garoppolo saw a bounce in prices when he took over. We didn't see him getting injured happening, and then the Purdy renaissance coming along with it. The Garoppolo spike, I think you could have sat down and kind of mathed that one out. I get that one. Let's look at a silver really quickly. Only a couple have sold over the last 2 weeks. One sold for $150 on the 30th, and then after that, one sold for $305. I had to go all the way back to find the previous sale to September, sold for $127, and then if you go back to August, one sold for $70 for a PSA 10 silver. So nice return there if you bought that at 70 and then dumped it after the game at 305. Gotta love the backup quarterback nonsense. That's all I have for you guys and girls this week. Like we talked about earlier, probably a 2022 baseball video early this week, a 2023 look ahead. I would like to sit down and look at 2022 wax, and not like 22 release year. I mean like how wax held up over the year of 2022 and what was very much a downward market on singles, kind of how that affected wax. And I might even want to do it on the non-sports card side too. So maybe we'll crack that into 2 separate videos. So anyone that loves charts and graphs, you've been getting a boatload of them lately as we kind of do one last look back into 2022 before we fully move into 2023. Catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.